Dearly beloved, you have made it to the Dearly Beloved Unpod. This ain't a podcast, y'all. This is an oral storytelling project hosted by me, the Passion Doula, working to help women in femmes remember our badass selves. That's sexually embodied life force. Join us on the 1st and the 15th of every month. Like paychecks, we are a reliable way for you to feel whole, to feel connected, and to feel part of the Dearly Beloved Village. Enjoy.
Good afternoon, y'all. Welcome to the Dearly Beloved Unpod. I call it the Unpod because it's definitely more of an oral storytelling project with women and femmes who I adore either personally and or from afar based on legacies and work that folks are doing. So clearly you two fall into that category for all of the things. So welcome Lisa and Lisbeth. Just two amazing humans who I can't wait to share space with in a formal way. I created this Unpod a few months ago now, and I named it Dearly Beloved because of my lifelong love of Prince and because of his really strong belief in the power of love, community, and revolution. And so I'm hoping to utilize this platform to connect deeply with other folks, to hear folks' stories, and to just be able to share our truth, our wisdom, our joy, and also our struggles, right? But just to show up authentically for one another in the time that we have during the Unpod and also more, holistically, like on planet Earth while we're here. So welcome, welcome.
Thank
To
you.
get us started and to get us grounded, I just want to do a brief grounding activity that's based loosely off of the Tangerine meditation, which is offered up by Thich Nhat Hanh, which is like a Buddhist practice. And so I asked y'all to get a raspberry if you have one in honor of Prince Raspberry Beret. Any old berry will do. And what I would love for y'all to do is to try to pretend as though you're currently not on camera or in a shared space, but that you're really just tuning in to yourself and to the berry while I lead us through this grounding practice. And so for the first part, if you feel it's accessible, go ahead and shut your eyes and take a deep breath in and out. When you breathe in, you're going to say, this is my in breath. And when you breathe out, you're going to say, this is my out breath. And you'll do that 3 times, just very slowly and to yourself. Okay. And so the breath here is really a bridge between our body and our home, right? Ourself. And so taking a moment to breathe is a reminder that we can practice getting centered at any point in time. Like we don't need to be on a mat in order to do so. We can do something as simple as taking a moment out of our day to appreciate all of life's offering, including these berries. And so go ahead and just look at the berry that you have in front of you and just really, feel the berry. Where did you come from? Think about the sun that it took to get here, the dirt, the soil, the farmers that it took to bring it into our hands right now. And really just look at it and the glory and the semi bizarreness that is this berry with its ridges. Maybe your berry has a little bit of like fuzziness on it, probably feels, maybe kind of squishy depending on how ripe the berry is. Um, but it's just a reminder to really honor the miracle that is everyday life, right? And then go ahead and smell it. And again, depending on the ripeness of the berry and or your ability to smell, I know not everybody has the same abilities to access our all senses, but if you can smell it, take a smell of that, and then go ahead and taste it. And just think that, like in this exact moment, just I'm here with this raspberry, nothing else matters, and just really bask in. Take a deep breath together again. Okay. Thanks for indulging.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, yeah. Um, well, I could go into it, but I won't go into it a whole lot. But so thank you all for being here and for sharing space. And you all feel really close, even though you're far away via this computer. But go ahead and just share with folks. I know you both, but share your name, your pronouns if that feels accessible for you. And then if you are feeling a particular Prince song today or any old song, what what is coursing through your veins right now. And whoever feels called to start can start.
Lisbeth Melendez Rivera, she died. Um, Funny, I was just listening to Purple Rain when I was driving in, so it's the one that is kind of like in my head at the moment. And it's print, yeah, Prince. That's all.
Thank you. Lisa?
Thanks for having us, Alicia. We're looking forward to the conversation. Lisa Weiner-Mahfuz, she and her pronouns. And I was going to say Purple Rain too, not because I was just listening to it, but we have just come off of a fabulous series of Pride events, both in our local community and then Capital Pride. And there's something about that song that reminds me of Pride, but it also reminds me of revolution and how Pride started as a revolution. And so yeah, it just really resonated for me, given that we've just been nonstop Pride for the last two or 3 weeks here. So
Yeah, 'tis the season.
yeah,
And y'all like had a really good like people pride, right, this year?
we did, yes. Lisbeth and I helped to organize a people-powered Pride here in Hyattsville. You want to say a little bit more about it, since it was our first people-powered Pride?
Well, it was actually our second, to be honest.
Good point.
Last year, we realized that the city had this bizarre schedule where one year they celebrated Juneteenth, and then one year, on off years, they celebrated Pride. So there's no official Pride celebration. They kind of like merge it into Summer Jam. And we have a large queer population in Hyattsville, and we don't know half of the queer people here. We know we're a sanctuary city. There was all of this other stuff. And so Lisa and I started talking about it. And he said, what if we call the people that we know and figure out like what should we do? And so we ended up doing a potluck in a matter of like 6 weeks. We organized the entire city we closed the street. We did a block party. It was a potluck block party. And next thing we know, we had 200 people in our front yard.
Oh, wow.
And we're like,
Yeah.
okay, so this obviously filled a need. And so people started asking, it's like, so what are we doing next year? And one of the things that we decided to do, which I think was really reflective of this year, was one that we would rotate, that it wasn't always going to be in the same block. Like the city has 5 wards. And so we went ahead, we decided that every year, every 5 years, one ward will host it, right? So last year, our ward is Ward 2. This year was Ward 5. Next year, Ward 4 has already volunteered to do it. And the other thing that we did was that we had all these disparate events. And they were kind of like no rhyme or reason, right? They were like all over the place. And so we're like, so what if we just bundle it? And, as great as an idea as that sounds, it's also exhausting.
Yeah.
Because all of a sudden we had a Pride week. It wasn't just a Pride day, just a potluck. Like we had karaoke and we had bingo and we had a punk, grunge, lesbian folk thing concert and all of these things that people have been doing all over the place, kind of like, and different days, we put them all together in a week. And so we had movie night and we had a bunch of other stuff and we finished that and then we got started on Capitol Pride. And so I would say, rarely would you hear me say, unless I was working, in the professional queer space, that I am exhausted, like Pride it out. And I am today Pride it out.
You're like, I'm proud.
Yeah, it's been great.
But it's been fantastic. And I think we got to meet a lot of people. One, people I didn't realize were queer in the city, and two, that we actually were a lot more than I actually thought we were.
Oh.
And so the city is, and our allies showed up super, and it was just trans inclusive and actually, trans QPOC led. So we'll, for next year, we've already had the faith community said we're going to do an interfaith service. And the other piece is that a group of us who are people of color were like, and we want to host an event where it's just salsa, merengue, reggaeton, reggae, whatever, but not grunge punk music.
Do you feel like you both were able to be present since you were also the organizers? Like you were able to bask in it?
Yeah. One of the things that I think we did well, and Lisa probably can talk more about it than I can, was that though we sort of kind of were the conveners by default, we were not the leads in in the events.
Oh, good.
What we did was we convened people, and people then, like, if you want to talk about karaoke, talk to Bo. If you wanted to talk about,
Perfect.
the concert, talk to Leandra. If you wanted to talk to, so we were not in charge of anything in particular. We were more like background, support, like architectural support.
Yeah.
Though of course I can always, cook too much and, whatever, but that's the whole.
You're Latina. Like if you didn't do that, I
Yeah.
don't even know who you are. You always have to have too much, not too little.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But I will just say that was the really wonderful and interesting part of it is that our goal is to help strengthen and build the capacity of the queer and trans community
Mm.
here in Hyattsville, ensure that it's multiracial, ensure that it's trans inclusive, and and so that is the role that we ended up playing, and I think we'll continue to hopefully play is to just help bring people together, convene, and the goal is really to build political power because one of the things that has been elusive in a city that is majority BIPOC and critical mass of queer and trans people of color as well is that we hold very little political power in the city, even though we are doing so much in the city. There's so many of us, and so we are losing political races. We are not getting city council seats. We are not getting, so there's just lots of ways in which the community building and the movement building that we are, working to convene, we really want that to be translated eventually into political power.
Yeah.
Because we're losing. We're other folks are getting elected, but our people are not getting elected.
I love that so much though, because I feel like it's a reminder of the beauty and power of organically bringing people together over something that's desperately needed, which is community right now. I feel like the thing that I keep seeing more and more is just this like longing to just be together, like in real life and being in joy together, also in struggle, but being able to celebrate each other as like also like a political strategy versus just doing the like let's all sit around a table and like plot out something, which is also important, but also celebration and bringing people together, and then also from that building out is just so beautiful. And I think it's also a reminder of like what we're doing this all for. It's not for like the future. It's like no, we have to soak up and live our lives, out loud, authentically, and in community in this moment, because there aren't any guarantees. So
That's right.
I'm grateful for that. And I'm also grateful that it does feel very much in the essence of Prince, because I feel like, even though he was exhausted clearly all the time, to the point where folks didn't even realize, I don't think, how exhausted he was able to bring people together from all walks of life through music and through creativity and through love, like to just really boil it down to the essence, which is so much of what he brings into the world still to this day, which is sort of the point of it all, right? Um, and I think, it's funny that you're both talking about Purple Rain, because that also is literally my go-to, and that's a song that'll bring me to like actual like full tears, like just like a guttural sense of like connecting to his music, but just also to like this greater essence of like how we're connected to something bigger than just this one lifetime, like in a very like spiritual ancestral way, which I didn't know at 12 when I was listening to him back then, you know what I mean? But I think I was somehow called to that even back then. Yeah, so thank you both.
If you have not, and I'll please remind me, Dr. Ayuta Hassan wrote a book called The Theology of Prince.
Mm.
And it's a magnificent study on the aspects of Prince's life, one that we don't talk about, right? Because we always think of Prince as the heathen, and there was a particular spirituality to the work that he did, and the call to justice that it was always. And so Ayatollah really did a really good job and there's several schools that are actually now teaching, theology schools that are teaching the theology of Prince as a course.
I love that so much. Yeah, if you could share that with me, that would be great.
Yeah.
At the same time that I was talking with some folks about the need, because a lot of the stuff, I mean, I'm sure that you both would appreciate this too, but this story share was really kind of like birthed also from trauma. Like Lisa, you probably know more a little bit than
Yeah.
Lisbeth in terms of, you know, some of the trauma that all of us have experienced at the hands of various systems. Like in my case, it was the nonprofit industrial complex. And so coming out of trauma and really trying to transform that at the same time, I came across a book too that was called Dearly Beloved, which is why, you know, in honor, I named this
Oh,
podcast
yeah.
that. And so I'm actually going to be talking to the person who wrote that, who, of course, happens to be a queer woman, of course, happens to be this dope ass Black woman in Philly or Chicago. Um, she also created a whole theology, like an institute of Prince in St. Paul, for the same thing. So I feel like there's these different folks who are recognizing but the deeper meaning to Prince. And she also said that she feels like it should be considered gospel music, you know, which in and of
Yeah,
itself is like slightly blasphemous, you know. Um,
I love that.
it just shows also, I think the reason I loved this book and being able to sit with it is that it's a reminder of our evolution as people, right? Like, yeah, Prince used to walk around with a thong and talk about, you know, like really like sexy stuff. And then near the end, like he was, you know, a Jehovah and deeply spiritual and like very much connected to things that were a far stretch, you know, and just like that freedom to allow people to be human beings, right? And to evolve and thinking about Loretta Ross's book, you know, around like the call in culture and the way in which we need to allow more space and grace for people to just grow and evolve and like to meet people where they are, you know. Um, yeah. So it's
So you are going to be
okay.
talking to Pam.
Ayo, yeah. Do you know her?
She's the same person we're speaking to.
Oh, get out of town.
She created the book, she created the theology, she created the course, she taught it at my seminary, United
Wild.
Theological Seminary, and then taught at seminary in Chicago
Yeah.
and travels to Philly to do some work.
It is a small ass world. I'm telling you. Like, it is a small ass. I mean, like, yeah.
No,
Really
Pam
not
is Pam, the Torayo Adumba is she's one of my
oh,
all
it's
time
of
Black
course you guys,
queer powerful
know
women.
each other. Of course, I'll tell her too because I'm going to Chicago in August. So, yeah, I'll let her know. That's when we're gonna hopefully connect in August.
I met her even before I started seminary. We actually, our first conversation was at, what is that deli in Somerville, Lisa? Jewish deli in Somerville.
Oh, yeah, I can't
It's
remember.
a,
Yeah,
it's a
yeah, yeah.
super like
Yeah.
well-known deli in Massachusetts.
Uh-huh.
And we sat in, we had the SNS deli.
Mm.
Oh,
Uh,
the SNS, that's right. Yes.
and yeah, we had a conversation full of color in the context of justice and the divine and the beloved. And so it was great. So she's a great person. I really, really love her. So
Hmm. I love that everything's all connected. Like I'm just yeah, things are just real witchy right now. Minus the stupid internet that is not connecting, but at least
No.
we are. But you know, it's gonna be what it's gonna be. It might be the universe saying that it's time. So I'm gonna transition us to
Okay, let's
um
do it.
I also just always like have to point out this bag because
Love that.
I know it's insane. It actually works as a clock. But yeah, so I'd ask you guys to submit a few questions. I'm just going to pull these at random, and whoever feels inspired to answer can answer. Sometimes it might be me or y'all. We'll see
Great.
how many we can get through because I also want to be respectful of folks' time. So, all right, let's pull this one. Okay, this is my question. I can say that. What helps you feel the most comfortable in the skin that you're in and most connected to yourself? The way that I talk about self is sexually embodied life force. It's like my tagline for our essence. Some people call it our spirit, our soul, our power. Yeah. Who feels inspired to go?
Hmm. Let's see. I think for me, um, it's just it's just really gotten very immediate, right? So it's our community here in Hyattsville, um, our family life, the life that Lisbeth and I, we've been together almost 30 years. And we live this wildly diverse, intersectional life. And I think for me, as somebody who lives at a lot of intersections as a queer person, as a light skinned person of color, as an Arab, as an anti Zionist Jew, all the things, right? That I think what makes me feel grounded in the skin that I'm in is to live a life and build a life with somebody, i.e., my beloved here, that is wildly spacious and wildly intersectional. I think for me, the narrower the boxes, the harder it is because I don't fit neatly into spaces. And certainly as a light skinned person, I feel really strongly about being in radical spaces where there's a really strong analysis around settler colonialism, white supremacy, etc. So, and also patriarchy, homophobia, transphobia. So it's just the more intersectional, I think, for me, and that's the life that we have built together. It is what our personal life, our life together, and our political life mirrors each other, and it is really joyful
Yeah.
and also hard um, to build a life like that because it takes a lot of intentionality. And what I love is being on this journey with somebody that is as intentional about that as I am,
Yeah.
or wanting to be as intentional about it as I am. So
That's beautiful.
anyway,
Yeah, I mean, I think,
and the food is damn good, people. I'm just gonna say.
I mean, dinner ain't being
Our
served.
chef, I call her my cook and butch. So there you go. There, my theologically grounded cook and butch.
There you go. There you go.
Not to be sappy, but I mean, everything that Lisa said, but at the end of the day, for me, there are two things that ground me. One is our differences.
Yeah.
Lisa and I are, as much as she talks about the fact that what has kept us together for almost 30 years is our common values, is our common outlook and lens towards the world, but also the fact that we revel in the fact that we are incredibly different people.
Yes.
I know that I drive her nuts because I leave my papers everywhere, and she drives me nuts because I come back to my fully organized, piled, desk, and then she's decided that that looks too aesthetically unpleasing, and so she's fixed it all, and now I can't find nothing. That kind of, but that we also have in different occasions, we have different levels of intensity, and that we support each other on that on those, intense moments, like when, knowing when is your time to lead and when is your time to support.
That's deep.
And that's really important because it's just like, there's no, we always, like Lisa and I talked a lot about our lanes at home, like, Lisa loves to potter, right? And otherwise known as cleaning and reorganizing, and she did like, it brings her joy to just do some of this stuff. Some others doesn't, but for the most part, she potters. And I love to fall asleep to forensic files and medical, like medical shows that she wakes up in the middle of the night and she's like, why are we listening to a open heart surgery thing? And it's like, oh, it was kind of soothing. So it points out to some differences. And the other thing for me is, outside of our amazing life at home, the fact that I get to today wearing probably similar scars as you, Alicia, around what the nonprofit industrial complex have done for us as dykes, as women of color, as as people who actually live justice versus just perform it. That we carry scars in this world that, even though they're deep, I still continue to look for ways to heal. And so for me, and to heal and to try to avoid them for others, right? So like, how do you present the world in a way in which is, you're a survivor in more ways than one? Like victimhood and survivorship are not necessarily always affiliated with sexual abuse or, or any of that psychological trauma that comes from believing in a cause, trying to wake up every morning and say, today is the day that I reach justice. And yet the people standing in the way between you and that justice are the people who you're supposed to be walking with, not against.
Yeah.
And so for me, my cooking, as much as it is obviously about feeding people, is about healing bodies and minds so that our souls can continue to thrive to do this work that is incredibly difficult.
Mhm.
You know, I, I think the intentionality between Lisa's and I, conversations at home, um, when do we talk about work? When do we talk? Because our lives are journeys of justice, both for ourselves as it is for the world.
Yeah.
And so we not only live justice, we embody it in many ways, in both justice and injustice.
Mhm.
Somebody who comes from a country who has never known what it is to have self-determination,
That's right.
um, to to the complexities of Lisa's, familial life.
Mhm.
And what does that bring? And, like we live in a house that is fully Abrahamic. So our religious conversations tend to be very complicated, sometimes funny.
Mhm.
Um, you know, um, and that we've learned to enjoy sometimes the stupidity of it all. And let me say that I'll frame that as it grounds me to remember the first time that we went Christmas tree shopping, and my dearly beloved double Semite wife walked in, grabbed the tree, and said, "Let's go." And I was like, "What is wrong with you? That tree? No, like it's an experience, right?" Um,
Process versus outcome,
I was like, does this need to take any time? You just take that one and we go. And she's like, no, we have to really
It's
pick
a
it.
you have to
ritual.
look at
It's a
it, you have to
ritual.
shake it, it has
Right,
to fall right.
right.
Um, but the same thing about what menorah do we take out, for what occasion and what year at home? It's like, okay, so tell me out of the 3 or 4 menorahs that you have, why is this one out this year or why not, right? Um, and um, learning every day, something different.
Yeah.
Because our struggles are similar, but the same. Like there's something after 30 years, there is still things that we don't profoundly know about each other.
I love that so much because I feel like folks just assume, and why wouldn't you learn new things about each other? Because you're learning new things about yourself every day, right? Or if you're
Totally.
open to it, right? Like if you have the space and the intentionality, like I consider myself wholeheartedly to be a work in progress. I always have, thought of myself in that way. And so the thing that also helps me to stay grounded is just kind of to your point, Lisbeth, around the sometimes like silliness and absurdity of it all is that being able to get to the quiet place of stillness and just really connecting to myself and remembering that this is so much bigger than me, and even just like who I am in this go round. I had
Mhm.
this moment a few years ago where I wouldn't even call it ground. It was both grounded, but also like some sort of a cosmic experience where I felt myself as like beyond even being my parents' daughter, if that makes
Mhm.
sense.
Mhm.
And it was in that moment that I felt like I broke free for a moment. I go back and forth with it because parents do a number on us, right? But I had this moment of just really feeling able to see myself as no longer like a victim or no longer a child in the ways in which like parental wounds can kind of show up for us,
Yeah.
And so it just kind of like broke that in a weird way. And so it pushed me on this course of being really intentional about thinking about my ancestral roots and thinking about the ways in which I probably actually have performed justice because I still need to do so much of that work of discovering who our people are and
Yeah.
not only just like discovering it, but then like atoning for those wrongs too, so that we're able to like heal in the now, but also heal the past, Not that it's my responsibility to or like I have any sort of power to like heal ancestral wounds, but I do feel called to explore it enough to be able to not repeat it or to just bear witness to harms that were caused by
That's
folks in my family, in my immediate family, and then in my way back family. Like I don't even know if I told you this, Lisa, before, but um, like it was confirmed a few years ago that we're actually DNA like blood related to the first colonizer of Colorado, this guy, who of course he's like thought of, and there's like a couple books written about him being like, the first pioneer and blah blah. And then it made sense where I have these moments of having this internal conflict of feeling like neither or like not fitting into any one box and just having this internal conflict because in my blood is coursing both colonizer and colonized.
That's right.
So to hear you all talk about the way in which you're living this out for for yourselves independently as independent people, but that you were able to do that like very human work for real, not as a job title, like when you strip all that away,
Oh,
it's about who
absolutely.
you are and how you show up for yourselves and each other,
Mhm.
especially in the quiet time, like the joy that brought of reliving that like through your eyes of the Christmas tree. Like I feel that struggle, that's a real conversation. And I don't know that necessarily everybody would pick that up as such a pivotal moment or like such a glorious thing to be able to share with each other. So thank you for that. That's one question, y'all. We're gonna get through probably two.
Okay.
But,
Okay, go for it.
love
Go
it.
for it.
But
We're here.
this is why we have no real agenda, if you will. You know what I mean? Okay, let's see what this one is.
We're just on a journey.
We're on a journey. We're flowing. We're flowing. Okay, this one is cute. Well, yeah, we already asked this one kind of sort of though. Let me see about this one. You guys asked one that I thought was really cute. Oh, here it goes. Okay. In the midst of all of it, including disappointment,
Mm.
how and where do we find resilience and joy?
Cooking.
Ooh.
And while you're thinking about it, I could just say that actually connects to the other part of the story share, which does talk about joy. So we're kind of, doing the things. Yeah. 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 Because digging into joy is life saving.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I always said that Lisa knows when I've had a hard day when she comes home and there's a 7-course meal. Cooking is both my joy and my process. And there's ancestrally, I come from a family of cooks.
That is
I was going to ask that. How did you come to it?
And a next generation is
And-
on her way. Our niece.
Our niece has already published a cookbook.
Yes,
No
she has
way.
at
So,
24. At 24.
Cooking for me is a place where you do both process and hope, right? The process is I need to just keep my mind busy creating, doing something because I've just had a moment of disappointment or, but the hope is, it goes back to what I keep talking about, which is as women of color in particular, my ancestors, particularly my great grandmother, she used to cook for folks in her hometown who were wealthy enough, rich enough, not wealthy, rich enough to have maids, but not cooks. And so every day she would cook for like however many family. And by the way, she had 11 children. So this is not that she was just cooking for, she was cooking for 11 children plus all these other people. And the maids would come in and they would pick up the food and they would serve it at home as if it was cooked in their own kitchen. And it was my experience with her as a child, making the different foods of Puerto Rico, everything from pasteles to morcillas to, some things that are kind of almost ritualistic in nature, where I first learned to pray the rosary because you would get bored. And so, in the old times, like, my great grandmother was a deeply religious person. And so she would just pray. And for me, the rosary became my meditation tool. Like when I meditate, that actually is where I go to because there's a cadence to it. There's a repetition to it that sort of kind of drops everything away. And cooking is the same way because you're going through your elements, you're going through your ingredients, you're going through your things. And your mind allows you to not have to really think about something, right? And I know that's not the same for everybody. Like I can cook and not think. I can cut, I can like julienne peppers and not think. I can, because it's the same movement, it's the same. I mean, obviously you want to watch for your fingers because you don't want to feed anybody anything,
Yeah.
keep the fingers out of the food. But so that, and then the process of feeding it to somebody else, and seeing that person enjoy what you just created,
Yeah.
and process it in a way in which their bodies, you can actually see their body react to what you just given me. There be, because of the taste or because of the way it settles in their body, or like an hour later when, when they come and talk to you and talk about the fact that this food actually made them feel good, better, grounded. And so that has always, regardless of everything else that I've done in my life, cooking has always been a place where I go to. And, a place where for a few years I lost it. I lost the joy of cooking.
Yeah.
And I am so lovingly appreciative of the fact that Lisa understood that and the reasons why it was happening. And that, she was able to give me the space to recover that. Though a couple of blunders in the middle, like, throwing away my scampi because she thought it was a dirty dish.
I'm sensing a theme here. I also love, Lisbeth, that the other question that I had put aside, but that it connects to this specifically. So Lisa, you can answer either way. But the question was around like, what is your medicine or what is your gift? And it sounds like the way in which you find joy is also your offering to other people, which I just think is so beautiful. Yeah, yeah. What about for you, Lisa? Also, as a side note, now I'm starving, but go ahead.
Yes,
Sorry,
yes.
I haven't even talked about what's in the kitchen yet.
Yeah.
There's a number of things. Well, number one, we post-pandemic, it's been harder, but we have a long history of convening community, and feeding community out of our house. Now Lisbeth has a beautiful kitchen at the festival center, and cooks for the movement there and for community there. Um, and often there's a lot of leftover food, so she brings it home and we feed our Hyattsville community as well, and redistribute food. So that is, feeding, nurturing
Yeah, I'm
community.
the mac and cheese dealer of the hood.
Of the hood, yeah. All the 5-year-olds know her. They're like, they put in their orders. It's great.
Start young.
So, yep. So I think that has always brought us a lot of joy, is bringing together community. People often say that they meet here, they have conversations here in our home and in our space that they don't have in other places. And so I think we both, there's a lot of joy and resilience that comes, I think, from that. I think the other for me is, this is another place where Lisbeth and I are really different. She's 100% an extrovert, not an introverted bone in her body. And I'm both, right? And so solitude, being in my garden, I walk 6 miles a day. I journal, have acupuncture, I have a great acupuncturist. There are things that I do, for self-care, for joy, for community. I'm very involved, separate from Lisbeth, in Hyattsville. I do a lot of projects here, and am very involved in community and have my own set of relationships. And what has brought me a lot of joy in this time and resilience is being able to pop right outside my door and be very involved in community. 5 minutes this way, 5 minutes that way, up the block, down the block. We know all of our neighbors. We know all of the kids in the neighborhood. We know, we're just involved in everything. And so it really, I'd say, nature, community. I also think, Elizabeth didn't say this, but we have a beautiful chosen, and biological family, and we spend a lot of time with our nibblings, with our chosen, children, grandchildren, And so we have kind of a deep, kind of sustaining kind of family life and chosen family life, which brings us very close to our nibblings and to the kind of the young people in our lives, and also brings us. We spend an enormous amount of time in Puerto Rico, and that is another we have a whole life there, a vibrant life of activism and community and family and relationship, and so that's another kind of space that we ground. So, how about you, Alicia?
I think the part that's interesting is that what you both said really resonates with me in the sense of I've always had this like deep connection for having really like honest, intimate, deep conversations with people. Like I sometimes struggle with small talk, even though I know small talk is what gets you to the bigger talk. But being able to have the honest, like privilege to be able to share spaces like this in which we can have just, really connected conversations brings me joy, and also knowing that it can be curated so that I'm able to step back when I need to. Because one of the things that I've learned as I've gotten older is that I am way more introverted than I think I thought I was for the bulk of my life. And I think that what people would think of me too, because I can be really just, loud and all the things. But I also really enjoy solitude. And I think that even being able to ask for that for a while was just also a thing because I grew up in a family in which it wasn't really like encouraged or modeled really. Like I didn't really see it. And so I had to learn how to be alone and feel okay with that and not feel guilty that I was letting somebody else down. And now I love it and I need it. And I know that if I don't get enough of it, I can feel how cranky I'm going to be. And then I literally am having moments of solitude tomorrow. I'm taking the dog and we're going to go, he and I, to my friend's house, like in the woods basically, just for a couple of days, just to chill out and just go be with nature, go be by the water. And that's the other thing I think that brings me joy and helps me bring me back to myself, is just, being in water, specifically like a shower. I call it like my forest bathroom. There's like plants all over, like in the shower, and just being able to just listen to some really dope music, um, or fun music, like from back in the day, 80s music, and dancing within a reason, so I won't get hurt. Uh, but just, yeah, kind of connecting to what's important, to the simple things in life, to the elements, water, earth, air, wind, all of that. Um,
Yeah,
yeah, and the last thing I'll say too, just about the food part too, is that Lisa's reminding me of uh, hearing you talk, Elizabeth, about the way in which food brings you joy, and it's such a connective way to bring people together. I was just saying to somebody at the Netroots conference that sometimes I feel like those large gatherings sometimes miss the point, because I feel like what could be so much more beautiful and probably more like affordable is something like breaking bread together and sharing space where you're able to share joy and struggles and also fill your bellies up with nutrients, versus this more like kind of cold mechanical way of it just being differently transactional. Like I don't know. I feel like we're at a place where we need things to go way back to how things used to be, where folks would just sit around and not just sit around, but break bread and remember what's important. So
I mean, that, when I was writing the abstract for my thesis, one of the things that in my thesis is on food and faith.
ah,
And, I keep going back to the role that food play in most of our social struggles that we have forgotten.
yeah,
Um, everybody thinks about, Martin or Malcolm, or, the reality is that there was a group of particularly women around them that fed them,
yeah.
and that were in that kitchen all the time, and that will drop wisdom that was never recognized,
Mhm.
That's right.
that ended up being essential parts of the movement. And there was a presence there, right? But that it revolved around the fact that, um, as you break bread with somebody else, or with a community, you create opportunities for listening, because you have to chew and you have to swallow, and it gives the opportunity to somebody else to step in, and it's like, as we say a lot in trainings, is like, if you're somebody who constantly exhales, take the time to inhale, just to let your body settle and to be able to give the opportunity to others to exhale so that you're not constant, that there's just a different air. And, in the normal colloquial says, like, you talk too much, just, listen for a moment. But at the end of the day, it's about that. It's like every time we talk, we're constantly exhaling, and we don't give our bodies or our minds the nutrient that it needs, which is oxygen, by inhaling. And I think that those spaces where you're able to break bread create that kind of space. And the other thing that I will add that really resonates with what you're saying, Alicia, is that even the most extroverted of us are introverts at heart, because we need spaces to heal. For me, that space to heal is the ocean. It's not even water. I am a child of the Caribbean. Salt water for me is sacred. I'm a granddaughter of Jemaya by my Mauritius, um, relations. And both, Chango and Jemaya bring me incredible, moments of connection to water. But in particular, um, salt water has a healing. I can just put my toes in it, and I will immediately feel my body calm, right? Everything in my body calm. And
That's right.
somebody who's in the midst of dealing with, um, uh, you know, uh, what I would call probably in so many ways consequences of the type of life that we are forced to live as young organizers.
Yeah.
I have a chronic disease, and so, I have all this other stuff that needs, and it reminds me that I'm lucky enough to be in the good side of that, as many of us as elders have lost the opportunity to feed from one each other's care, and that means institutional care as much as it means personal care. So you work towards that, you heal towards that. And for Lisa and I, as beloved, both of us having encountered different ways in which our disabilities show into the world,
Mm.
hidden disabilities, we talk about that, and we work towards what does it mean to support somebody else who's going through the same kind of injury, and where does that leave us, right? And so just to be a little bit serious about the fact that joy is not always laughter.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
And joy is not always permanent.
Yes.
I think to refer to moments of joy is incredibly important, because it tells us that in order for us to recognize joy, there's also has to be some type of suffering. There's it's like, oh, this is different.
Yeah.
This makes my body feel different.
Yeah.
My struggle, my ability to hide in the midst of organizing and let the people who I'm working with shine is more important to me, and brings me a hell of a lot more joy than seeing my face in a paper saying, oh, you organize. It's like
Mm.
the roles that we play in our relationships, and familial, friendships, professional, um, have to settle into a moment in which, at the end of the day, through all the trouble and through all the struggle, are still moments of joy. You have to be able to see the joy in that struggle. Because if you don't, then why are you struggling at all?
Right. Beautiful.
And I will just say, I don't think it's a mistake that at this season of our lives, both Lisbeth and I are doing movement backbone work rather than frontline organizing, because of health issues, because of healing processes, lots of things that are happening. Both of us are in roles where we feed, nurture, support, undergird movements. And we're doing a lot of infrastructure, strength building, all of that, nurturing, feeding hearts and minds, all of that. Because I think, this is what brings us joy, but it is also, I think, the season of our lives that we are in. And certainly as somebody who over the last couple of years has now transitioned to be more in a caregiving role
Yeah.
to support Lisbeth, that there's only so much capacity to go around, and she gets to be in a place where she the center is a place, the festival center is a place that it's a movement hub, and How many movement hubs have an industrial kitchen that is literally cooking for the movement 24/7 to keep sustaining? They see the power of, as you said, bringing people around a table. It's not conferences, it's not big gatherings. It is breaking bread and feeding the strategic and the spiritual and the community needs of organizers, right? And at Roadmap, I'm doing a very similar thing, um, and doing it through capacity building, but it's done with so much love and heart,
Yeah.
right? And it really, and healing for the movement. It's really about that kind of transformation. So I do think we're in a season of our lives where that's the kind of work that is most doable for us, but it is also most meaningful for us. It is our gift back to the movement.
And it allows us to continue to grow as a couple.
Right.
I think
Yeah.
that's really important, right?
Yeah.
It's not
I feel
about
like,
running away from each other.
I mean, yeah. But I feel like in like a bigger, meaning of life kind of way, you also both are curating that for yourselves in this very iterative process versus like trying to fight going upstream, like if I get the sense from you both that there's also like a level of surrendering and assessing like what is needed both for the movement but also for yourselves as human beings and also as a couple, and
Oh, absolutely.
that is so on purpose. And I feel like that's part of the reason that I think like myself, and I'm sure so many other people are just drawn to you all, like as individuals, as a unit, is just because you all are actually about what we're doing here, by way of how you show up for your own selves, by way of your connecting to um uh, just connecting the dots in ways that I feel like folks need to remember. And so I feel really just deep. There's not even enough words for it, but just the sense of humility that I feel to be able to share space with y'all and like bear witness to where you are at in your lives is honestly just remarkable. I consider it just such a blessing. And I feel like, Lisbeth, hearing you talk about the ocean is just a reminder too for myself about um like how much we are ocean, like we are ocean, we are
Right.
stardust, we are earth. And to the connective tissue is felt, even though we're far away, virtually, like in this weird zoomy space, like I feel very close to you both right now. And I think that that's in large part because of y'all's essence and ability to be able to just be fully human in a way that's not gross and performative or like based on titles. Lisa, you already mentioned quickly about Roadmap. Where can folks find you? Where do you want folks to find you? Uh,
Oh,
where
sure.
where can folks connect with you outside of here? And then the same
Sure.
question for you too,
Yeah.
Lisbeth, as we
Sure.
wind down.
Sure. Yeah, you can always find me through Roadmap. Roadmap Social Justice Consulting. We're a group of liberatory practitioners, mostly BIPOC, lots of queer and trans folks. We do holistic capacity building, everything from healing justice, trauma informed capacity building to strategy. We've all movement rooted folks. And I do want to give a shout out to Roadmap because that network of people is very healing for me. So my gratitude for working with such incredible practitioners all over the country, doing deeply, deeply transformative head and heart work to support movements. So you can always find me at Roadmap, and just we have a general email address on our website, and that comes right to me. So it'll get right to me. info@roadmap.org. So
Perfect.
yeah,
Beautiful.
absolutely. And Lisbeth.
So the Festival Center is a 40 plus year organization that is based in Adams Morgan in Washington, D.C. So we're at the heart of the queer, Latine, Black communities, historically, Black communities. We are Columbia Road, which, a lot of people in the Mid-Atlantic know. We have 4 meeting spaces, but we also are, just like Lisa does capacity building in a particular way, we are a hub for small, local, mostly nonprofit organizations that have never had a storefront. So we were able to provide through sliding fee scales and, in many considerations, spaces for folks, spaces for folks about to have an office for the first time, to have a place. And then, and we have a co-working space where organizations come and meet, they have memberships and they come and use the space to meet and, and what have you. And, all in all, we support 90 small nonprofit organizations that are local, in all spectrums of justice. And my role here is the director of the kitchen services. I am the resident chef. And so when organizations in the building and others rent our meeting spaces, they have the opportunity to have fresh, just made food that is delivered to your meeting space, to help you support. And we do that in ways in which is affordable, is healthy. What I will say, Lisa talked about my kitchen a little while ago, and is that we are one of, if not the only, no emissions, fully induction solar power kitchen in DC. And just for, just for record for information, that kitchens, restaurant kitchens and hotel kitchens and so on are the biggest polluters in most cities, because our gas stoves are constantly working and methane is constantly, being released in the air, more so than actually cars. And this is a fact that most people don't talk about. And so induction allows you to cook 1/3 of the time used in cooking with gas or other forms of electric power. And we're a no waste kitchen. We practice, meaning, like Lisa said, either we
It's
bring
distributed.
it with whatever. We're also no waste kitchen, what it means, like, you tell me to cook for 50 people, we're gonna cook for 50 people. We don't cook for 200, right? We don't cook to because more people is like, I'm sorry, you run out of this, you run out of that, and we apologize to you, and I'm sorry you didn't get it. We'll make sure you eat. That's not it, because we're always cooking enough food. But there will be also moments in which there will be leftovers. Those leftovers get redistributed either through working with unhoused and needy organizations around us here in the Adams Morgan area, or we'll bring them to Hyattsville. And we work with the youth center in Hyattsville to drop off food, and other organizations. And so our purpose is to be able to feed the bodies, the movement's body, mind, and soul, one activist at a time, in order for us to survive. Because if your body is not well, your mind and your soul will not work.
Can I add one more thing about the center for those that are in the DMV but are outside the DMV? If you are a Palestinian, Arab, Muslim organization, collective, etc., and you need meeting space, and you are looking for liberatory space, all of the Palestinian, Middle Eastern, and Muslim groups meet at the center. It is explicitly anti-Zionist. And so if you are anti-Zionist Jews and you want to have a meeting at the center, you can do that as well. We have very hard time finding very supportive spaces, not just in the DMV, but across the country. And so I want to do a shout out, because it is a great place for our communities, my communities, that have a hard time finding explicitly political spaces around our issues. So that's
just to support
yeah,
the point. 2 weeks ago, we had the Palestinian Museum had their fundraiser here, and in a couple of weeks, we will have the Arab Diaspora Festival.
Yes,
that includes a fashion show. That I'm supposed to sit and judge, which I said I won't, because I don't think I have the knowledge to do that. I actually suggested Lisa.
You know how to judge. I've seen you do it live.
Well, I'm judgy. I didn't say I wasn't, but that's not what I was talking about. Because I can judge. But when it comes down to the truth of like a beautiful Palestinian traditional dress, I don't think I have the details for that one.
Right.
But I say that in the sense that we're a place that leans into its values.
Yes.
We do not, if you come to us with a need, we will work with you to fill that need. We're not exploitative. I know a lot of nonprofits here in DC have
Yeah.
meeting spaces that they rent for exorbitant prices for
This is
whatever.
not.
That's not who we are.
No.
We want to make sure that, as probably the three of us in this space know, many spaces have been created in the past for people to give birth to new ideas,
Yeah.
to sustain groundbreaking ideas, to nurture old efforts. And some of those spaces are quickly disappearing. We aim to sustain that, to give those who've been here for a long time to continue to do the work that they're doing while bringing in new blood, to give the opportunity through breaking bread or just simply creating spaces for conversations. The fact that our co-working space is surrounded by the established organizations mean that already we've given birth to 3 organizations here that come out, or 3 efforts that come out of people just sitting down to have lunch together in the co-working space and have heard each other's conversation and said, hey, I want in on that.
Love it.
And so,
and I will say many of our roadmap clients in the DMV, including Domestic Workers Alliance and other organizations, live in the building.
Yeah.
So
I feel like this is what happens when I feel like folks like you know, like live on purpose, live in purpose, and connect with other people to just continue to inspire and to feed, you know, everybody. And I just, again, just to repeat, just feel so full of all of the love. And every time I talk to y'all, I learn something new without fail. Without fail, I learn something new, either about like life, about myself, or just about like what's the point of all of this, you know. So just thank you for taking time. I know that you two
having us
are really have full lives, and a lot of folks relying on you. And so I'm grateful for y'all, because I wanted to be able to capture you both together, and you know, maybe talking about things that maybe some people know about y'all, some people might not know about you, but the synergy that exists between y'all is just once in a lifetime, honestly, you know. And so to be able to be part of the trio for this last bit has been just a true honor. And I have to get down to see you all.
We love it.
To like see the center. I want to be able to like share in the joy. And if there's anything that I can do for either of you, just like as humans, as women, please, you know, consider me a resource.
Back at you.
Right back
Thank
at
you for
you.
this beautiful time. Thank you for everything.
I will say, you know, our Rolodex, as dated as the term is, remain open to anybody and everybody who needs. And come, you know, look, you know, I know lots of things get said about DC, and still,
we have a thriving community here. So
underneath it all,
everywhere, look for it. You know, there's
underneath it all, DC is a vibrant, justice-oriented city that fights every day for survival.
Black and brown.
And it's a Black and brown city, working, you know, swimming against the tide. So whenever you can come and support the local. Support the locals.
Absolutely.
Thank you, love.
Thank
this
you
was
all.
so great.
Thank you for being part of Dearly Beloved. Yeah, I'm the Passion Doula signing out.
Okay. Bye.